A rolling surge of silent death. That is what she says here, that darkness. It came curving round the far edge of the quaking globe, effacing heaven with its enormous stride. It willed to expunge the choked and anguished air and end the fable of the joy of life that embraced that death wished to destroy the thing, remove the thing. And then it asked Savitri, the voice of the dark infinity asked Savitri, Savitri, who are you? Who art thou who claims thy crown of separate birth? You seem to be somebody else. Who are you? What are you here for? I am the master here. I am this person here. The illusion of the soul's reality, all that you see here, the rishis seeing different peace, different light and all that is an illusion of reality. It's not real thing at all. I am the one here. And personal Godhead on an ignorant globe in the animal body of imperfect man. And then he tells Savitri, hope not to be happy in the world of pain. You are in your lover's embrace. Hope not to be happy in that embrace. And dream not listening to the unspoken word. I have created all at devour. I am hunger. I will swallow up everything. What you are talking of joy, your achievement, I will swallow all that thing. I am Kali, black and naked in the world. I am Maya, and the universe is my cheat. A shadow of the negating absolute. This is what the darkness is, that shadow of the negating absolute. The intolerant darkness travels surging past, and yet in her the formidable voice. And then Savitri immediately gets kind of consolation. She is told, don't bother about that threat. Don't worry about it. You have to do a few things. You must carry them on. Then from the heights, a greater voice came down. Now this is what happened. As I was saying you, at every crucial juncture, Savitri gets instructions, guidance. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. At every crucial juncture, she gets instruction. And then a greater voice came down. O soul, bear not thy kingdom to the foe. Don't expose your achievement to the enemy at this stage. Fear not to be nothing, that thou mayst be all. Be nothing first. Fear is there. The element of human nature is there in you. You have taken human birth. It is there. That human element has to go away from that. Be nothing. Remove that human element totally from you. Otherwise the dread is there. Remove that human element from you. Fear not to be nothing, that thou mayst be all. Then you will be the master of everything. Ascend to the emptiness of the Supreme, be total void. That is the nirvana into which Savitri must enter. She must blow away all that is human, all that is mortal in her entire being. Yes, you have discovered so. Yes, you have identified yourself with the divine. But what about your outer nature, the physical nature? That will stand in the way of your conquest of death. So unless you take care of your physical nature, your outer nature, the deha which you have taken, your mental being, your vital being, your physical being, all the things are there. They will stand in the way of your fight with death. He will not allow you to win if they are standing there. The first thing which you have to do is, you have to be nothing. Remove all those elements from you. Totally become empty. Accept to be small and human on the earth. That all in thee may reach the absolute. When the human part has gone away, then you will become the absolute. Thou hast come down into a struggling world. Thou must bear the sorrow thou claimest to heal. The day bringer must walk in darkest night. You have to walk to the salvation. He who would save the world must be one with the world. Savitri has already identified herself and bear the grief and joy of all that live. And then he says, banish all thought from thee and be God's void. What Savitri had seen earlier, she was night of God. Your senses, etc., they have stopped. You are not able to see. But now you have to be God's void, Shunya, Ishwari Shunya. All that is there in you, that has to disappear. They have no value at all. They have to go away. You have to be absolutely yourself, your true being. Then only you will meet death and deal with death. Then shalt thou uncover the unknowable, and the superconscious conscious grow on thy tops. Consent to be nothing and none. Dissolve time's work. You have been living in the process of time. Dissolve time. Cast off thy mind. Step back from form and name. You have assumed Nama and Rupa. No value. Forget about Nama Rupa. Forget about all that. Annul thyself that only God may be. You have to empty out the cup fully. As if even the container, the cup does not exist. As if even the cup does not exist. It is in that condition you will become capable of receiving what God really wants to be. Nothing of yours. It will be all will be God's only in you. And when everything in you is God's, you have conquered everything. So annul thyself that only God may be. About this line, Mother has commented, annul thyself that only God may be. On a couple of occasions, on 2 or 3 occasions, she has elaborated something on this line. In one of the disclosures, she said, first, Savitri meets her soul. That has already been done. A house of flame. What is the soul? A house of flame. She enters the house of flame and unites with her soul. This is Mother's repeating. It's after that, after there is nirvana. This is Savitri nirvana. She goes into nirvana. She has to empty out. She has to blow out totally everything, whatever there is in her. She goes into nirvana and becomes just a violet line of nothingness. Violet line of nothingness. Unutterably effaced. No one and null. A vanishing vestige like a violet trace. A faint record merely of a self now past. Then finds herself back after that nirvana, finds herself back in her body. The cup was not there, cup has come into existence in a new form with new contents in it, containing nothing but God and God's. On another occasion, Mother says, it was a dreadful anguish. See, the whole experience is here. Complete, total, perfect. And because this body has lived too long, she's talking about her body, too long, it no longer has a power of expression. It has to be emptied out. And it said, but why, Lord, why? Why do you take away from me the power of expression? Annul, you say, why you are taking the power of expression? Because this has lived too long, this whole thing. it has a sort of revolution in the body consciousness. It has gone away, that thing. And then she says again, okay, let's read further. She says, on 13th October 1965, there is a line in Savitri which freely translated is, Mother herself is translating that line. Anal thyself, that only God may be. This line, she says. Anal twa pukka shur latevhan swa. That only God be. She translates that thing into French. A very free translation, she says. But the idea is there. And that's the state in which that can exist. And it is evident that the body doesn't dissolve. You are annulling yourself. The body, the cup is not there, but doesn't dissolve. And it is the only infallible way to establish harmony in the body. In the body. This smile of the presence, this body now newly formed, what is that? This smile of the divine presence, smile, S capital. This body then becomes the smile of the divine presence himself. All the rest, all the precautions, all the remedies, all that so seem futile, so meaningless, so inadequate. The body has now the smile of the presence in it. Everything is futile then, nothing required. I do not have the proof of the construction of something that had disappeared. I can't say that, but logically the same thing. And then she says, that's the core, that's the sure thing that can happen. Thou must die to yourself to reach divine supremacy. That is Savitri's nirvana, to die totally here. Thus spoke the mighty and uplifting voice, annul yourself that only God be. That is the command Savitri has received, and Savitri proceeds now to annul herself totally. What does she say? First thing, she sees that thoughts, she was told about thoughts. She gazes at thought, where from they arrive, where from they come, what is their origin. And then she says, the thoughts can enter into us from two regions. In our unseen subtle body, the thought is born. It is not in the brain the thought is born. It is in the subtle body, in the sukshma there, that the thought takes birth. In our unseen subtle body, thought is born, or there it enters from the cosmic field. Either it is born in the subtle body, or it enters from the cosmic field. Now this is the origin of thought, and Savitri is tracing the origin of this thought in the subtle body. And then there are long descriptions how the heart, the mind, even the limbs, the flesh, the blood, everything, from there, how the thoughts arrive. How the thoughts arrive from the very subtle physical self. All that is there. Her body's thoughts climb from her conscious limbs. The limbs themselves have become conscious, and from there the thoughts are arriving. Only the inner mind, etc., etc. Then, well, the whole description there, we'll skip that. And then we have got a side opened upon the invisible. She is describing how from the subtle body the thoughts are rising. A side opened upon the invisible, and sends the shape that mortal eyes see not, the sounds that mortal listening cannot hear, the blissful sweetness of the intangible touch, and a common pavilion of sense and thought. It is from there the thought receives its foot. The beings of the subtle realms appear, and scenes concealed behind our earthly scene The unseen grew visible and audible. Unseen grew visible and audible. And then thought, thoughts leap down from superconscient field. The thoughts either arise from the cosmic field or they arise from the subtle body. What does Savitri see? Thoughts leap down from a superconscient field, like eagles swooping from a viewless peak. Thoughts gleamed up from the screen subliminal from below, gleamed up from screen subliminal depths like golden fishes from a hidden sea. They're rising from below like fishes, or they're coming down and swooping like eagles. That is how Savitri sees the origin of these thoughts. And then the word, the form, the charm, the glory and grace are missions passed from a stupendous fire. It is when you see these thoughts arising from, coming from the superconscious field or from the golden sea from below like fishes, then everything becomes a mission spark of the stupendous fire. Out of the mind she rose to escape this law of mind. Then this too passed. The body seemed a stone. All now was a mighty vacancy. The thoughts were arriving from there or leaping up from below. Even that has ceased totally. And the ocean of silence of infinity, it all became that. Even now, some thoughts could cross the solitude, her solitude. And then out of some far expanse, they seem to come as if carried on vast wings of large white sail. Even they had to be stopped. Then, looking to know whence these intruders came, she saw a spiritual immensity pervading and encompassing the world space. Then all grew still, nothing moved anymore. A silent spirit pervaded silent space. In that absolute stillness, bare and formidable, there was glimpsed an all-negating void, supreme. That is the true nirvana, Savitri. All-negating void, supreme void, shunya, mat shunya, divya shunya. That is what Savitri sees here. That claimed its mystic Nahil's sovereign right to cancel nature and deny the soul. That is the real significance of Buddha's realization of nirvana. Everything goes out of existence, even the soul. Self is not there in the nirvana. Everything is blown out, and Savitri is experiencing that thing. Her spirit same the substance of a name, the world a picture symbol. Thus was self-seeing. Okay, let's move on. Savitri, the heart beat on with an unconscious rhythm. But no response came from it, no cry. It goes on, so to say, mechanically. There is no response here. Yet still, her body saw and moved and spoke. It understood without the aid of thought. And then what does Savitri have? Even that has gone away. What remains now with Savitri is only a pure perception or the only power that stood behind her action and her side. And if that retired, if that pure perception disappeared, Savitri will lose the entire contact with his creation. This seeing was identical with the seeing, with that pure perception. What she sees is identical with what is seen here. And It watched the figure of the cosmic game, a hollow physical shell persisted still. So what is happening now? Savitri is no more Savitri. Only her physical body has become a shell, outer shell. Yet something was there behind the fading scene. Nowhere she turned, or wherever she turned, whatever she looked at, it was perceived that something, yet hid from mind and sight. Only one stood there. This only could justify the labor of sight. But then, even that should also cease. That perception was just there, that perception should also disappear. When that disappears, it cancels the convincing cheat of self. And what does she see? Only a truth in nothingness with its mighty clue. In that nothingness, in the shunya, there is the clue, there is the hint. What is the hint? We have one of the most powerful descriptions and one of the most powerful spiritual experiences ever recorded here. If all existence could renounce to be, that is the nirvana. Everything has to disappear. If all existence could renounce to be, and being take refuge, existence, being took refuge in non-being's arms. Non-being is embracing the being. Non-being is embracing the being. If all existence could renounce the being, and being take refuge in non-being's arms, and non-being could strike out is ciphered round. So the being is embraced by the non-being, and the non-being himself is striking himself out. He has become a zero. By embracing, it has become zero. And when that zero is struck off, means even the non-being has disappeared with that. Obviously, the being also has gone away. And non-being could strike out is ciphered round. Some luster of that reality might appear. See, being has gone, non-being has gone, everything is gone. Then possibly an element of that luster would appear here. And it is there Savitri receives a formless liberation came on her. The form had disappeared long ago. Even the formless had disappeared. Savitri has now fully liberated herself. Savitri has fully liberated herself. A formless liberation. Now this is an experience absolutely unique. She solely discovered what about the nature, etc., etc. All that. That has also to go away. That formlessness has to go away totally. You have to be totally free of whatever is born of inconscience. Savitri has taken a mortal birth in the inconscient world. Even a small element of that inconscience, if it exists here, that is enough to destroy her achievements. Even that has to go away totally, completely. A formless liberation came upon her. What once had been herself had disappeared. There was no frame of things, no figure of soul. That is the nirvana Savitri had. Only, in spite of all that, only some last annulment remained. She has annulled herself, still something remains. Because she has some kind of a memory of her being in her. Yes, I was there. Savitri, there was a person like Savitri. That faint memory is there, and that faint memory is still kind of persisting there. Only some last annulment now remained. Annihilation's vague, indefinable step. A memory of being still was there and kept her separate from nothingness. Because Savitri is still carrying that memory, it is keeping away from total nothingness, from the total void, from the supreme void. Savitri has some kind of an element of that thing in her still. She was that, but still became not that because that memory persisted there in her. In fact, that could be a significant element also. That could be the rallying point for all that Savitri has done to come back. The fulcrum for all that she has done, it can kind of jump back on Savitri. It can recall her back into this creation. All existence was renowned. Savitri had the realization of the formless liberation. She was no more a person in the world. She had escaped into infinity. She was delivered from knowledge and ignorance, from the true and the untrue, from Satyam and Anrutam. She was delivered. Beyond the self-born world, the nude idea, she found the ground of consciousness. She has effaced herself totally, but the memory of the being still persists. She was that, but still became not that. In other words, Savitri does not dissolve herself into the absolute. There is no laya for Savitri. Savitri cannot disappear. The purpose of her coming could not be served by her immersion into the Supreme that way. That memory is there to pull her back, draw her back. Savitri, you have to do something here. How can you disappear into the absolute? Your nature, everything has gone away. Okay, that has to go away. But you cannot go away like that. And it is that memory which brings her back to the reality of this existence and the work she has to do in this existence here. That memory is significant, important, and it awakens her. She might be not, she might be nothing, she might new become all, she might emerge as someone and redeem the world, a gleaming portion of the all wonderful, all that can she become. But this possibility was unreal. Savitri would not go and merge into that. That possibility of merging her is not for Savitri. There is something which protects, holds her back from her disappearance from this entire creation. She has to reach that experience but not yet disappear. That is the paradox for us. If it is not there, then the real would be unmovable. It would not serve the purpose at all. A lonely absolute negated all. It effaced not the world, it effaced the ignorant world. All that was born of inconscience in Savitri, it is that which is effaced and drowned the soul in eternal peace. That is the nirvana of Savitri, and therefore Savitri is in a position to come back to the earth. Luckily, at every point she is sort of guided again. Savitri might know how to become the mystic zero, but that is not for her. That memory becomes the point of Apvi to pull her back, to draw her back. That is the rallying point on the military